I'm using Simplicity 1936, and I'll be doing style C. Doing the bodice and the apron skirt in the Golden Girls, and I'll be using this coordinating fabric. Okay, it's upside down, but this is piece number 8, and so it'll have the sizing lines for small, medium, and large. Okay, so I have my 2 main pieces cut out. This is piece 8 for the miss, and this is half of the bib. I keep calling it a bodice, but for an apron it's the bib. And so on this pattern, I have a cranky chihuahua there, sorry. On this pattern, this double arrow here, it's telling you that this goes on the center fold. So you won't have to cut out 2 individual pieces of the bib and sew them in the middle and have a seam. You're going to match up this on the fold of your fabric. So you're going to basically cut through 2 layers to make one big piece. And then for the apron piece, this is also going to be lined up on the center fold. Has your double arrows, and it does label it as center fold. So you're going to line this edge up on the center fold of the fabric to get one big piece for the apron. And I'm going to set this on it just so I can gauge it. 1/2 inch here, so we'll give it about 4 inches longer in length. So that's good there. This all out. And then I'm actually just going to leave it to that length, to that width there. That's actually just right. I'm going to leave it in place and just kind of fold it a little bit and bring it closer to me. Like that, and I know I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Use your ruler, use your straight lines. I'm using this as a guide, and I can always fix it later if needed, but I haven't had to yet. Okay, and then this, I'm going to use this for the matching belt once I get to that part. I want it to have a little bit of a gather at the waist, and basically the way it'll be is, this is the bottom apron part, and it has this rounded scoop cut out, so that when you lay it flat against the waist, it's going to give you these little cute little ruffles. The fabric that goes behind it, it'll be a little bit more straight down, which I think will complement these little ruffles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a large stitch across the top, and I think it might be called a basting stitch. I'm not too savvy on all the technical terms. I just do what I do. So I'm going to go across the top 2 times in a long stitch, and then that way when I hold the top 2 threads on one side, I can start to gather in the fabric and give it a little bit more gathering. And then I'll do the same to the lower marigold color. I'll do a gathering on it as well, set them together, line them up where I want them, pin them in place, and then I'll work on the attaching it to the bib, and then the waistband. Okay, so what I did was just a long stitch. I did 2 rows of it, and the way that you can do a gather is just pick up the top 2 threads, not all 4 and not the back. So hold these 2 together. Just hold it tight but not too tight, and you can start sliding your fabric down little by little to create these little a gather. You can just do halfway and then go to the other side and start pulling the other 2. And you want to make sure that your gathers are kind of uniform. You don't want a big bunch of gathers in one spot and then a bare space. I'll just keep pushing these little gathers all the way past. Okay, so I think I'm happy with that. I'm just going to set this aside very carefully. I've got dogs running Chihuahua races behind me. So this was my center fold. Let's see. Okay, so I will do the same. This side will be easier than the first one because I didn't have all that fraying from the selvage edge. So I'm going to pick up the top thread. There. And the top thread. There. And then just kind of start to slide it down to gather it. I'm going to just fold this and hold down to those little threads that I was pulling and do a little clamp. Okay, so once my apron piece is cut out, if I was following the pattern, it would say for me to do a bias trim around all the edges. I don't want to do a bias trim, so I'm going to go ahead and do like I guess a rolled seam it's called, but I'm just going to fold it in about 1/4 of an inch, and then another 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm just going to steam this down as I go. Okay, so now I have it all steamed how I want it. I'm just going to go do a stitch, a seam all the way around it. Where did I start? I started up here. Okay, so I have all the gathered parts done, and in reality I did this backwards. I should have done all of the hems and then done the gather, but you know, it's alright, worked out. So I'm going to lay this down. I had marked the center. I'd marked the center of this one. There it is. Just check it again. Okay, so there's the center of this one. Okay, and then here's the center of this one. So I'm going to pin these two together at the center. And then I'm just going to lay these flat on top of each other. Make sure that it all lays nicely, that I'm not picking up too many layers. All the way to the edges. And do the other side. I know there's all these extra little threads there. You'll get rid of them shortly. Lay these flat. Okay, that's that. And then I'm going to get my bib, and I'm going to do the hem around this side next. Okay, so the two layers of the apron are hemmed, they're gathered, and then I tacked them together just with some pins. And then the bodice, while my phone was charging, I got a little crazy, added a little trim across the top. I found the center, and I decided this is not a tutorial, this is just watch how I watch how I do this. Anyway, so I'm lining up the center with the center of the apron bottom. Go ahead and line those together, and I'm just going to lay it across what's going to be the waistband. Tuck down. And I'm going to do about a ½ inch seam so I can capture all of these gathered stitches on the other side. Make sure I get through all the layers. And then I decided I will use the serger just to go over this raw edge. That way it's finished and it doesn't fray. So I'm being really careful with the fabric so it doesn't pull apart what had been gathered before. So, I love it. Okay, so at a rough look, I still have some threads to pull out and lining up. Okay, so I'm going to just serge these edges. going to attach the the neck strap. So on what will be the end tie, I just tucked in the raw edges and I ironed it, and then I'll do a seam over it, that way that's sealed. And for the other end, I will be attaching it to this side, folding it over and sewing it. I already did one side, so what I did was I just folded it over that raw edge, I pinned it, I sewed right here on the edge, and then I went all the way down the length of the strap. So I will be doing the same on this side. This is the long seam. I'm going to put that down towards the bottom. I'm going to just line it up right here, fold it in half, so it is encasing that raw edge. I'm just folding it in half, making sure that both sides are in the same spot. That way when I sew it, I go through all the fabric. Okay, so I'm just going to go stitch down, and then all the length of the tie and the waist ties will be done. The waist ties are done. She wanted them a little bit long, so I did them long. And then all I need to do left is add the neck straps. And I gave her the choice of having ties around the neck or one solid piece. And she chose just one loop, so I've already have this done. Okay, and on the back side of this, okay, so overall it's all done. I just need to go trim some threads. So this is the finished apron. She just wanted a neck strap, not ties. And then longer ties. It's got the cute little ruffle. And then the longer skirt for a fuller apron. And then the back, because I used the serger, there's no raw edges. So when it's washed, everything stays in place and nothing will fray. And I'm really happy with it.